I think we can get started. Welcome back to the Blue program. Our next presenter is David Wybenga. David uses picture books in his career, and he's used them for more than 30 years, first in social work in the US, and now he's teaching English in Japan. He's also contributed to various publications on picture books. So David, whenever you're ready, feel free to share and take it away.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming here. I have a program I want to share, so I'm pressing share screen. I'm hoping that gets us there.
Yep, we can see your screen.
Okay, good. Thank you. I started the picture book group because I love art and I love picture books, and I'm looking for ways that I can add them to the classroom. And today's presentation, I want to talk not so much about the books themselves, but what you can do with the books. I think it's important to find the books that fit your situation. But more than that, today, I want to show you some of the things that I like doing with them. And a picture book to me is more than what you think, more than a traditional small kids illustration driven story. But also, I want to say that picture books include wordless books, books that have lots of illustrations as well, that they may not necessarily be stories, but filled with pictures that you want to use. Also comics and manga, picture and photo collections, and picture stories that are really aimed away from children and more toward adults and teens, not necessarily mature subjects, but more difficult subjects. My name is David Wybenga. I teach children and adults, and I look for opportunities to teach with picture books across all ages. And here are a few of my favorite ideas. So today I want to talk more about the approaches and activities that go well with the picture books. If you would also like to discuss books, get suggestions, or share with me, grab my contact at the end and we can share that. Okay. The first thing I want to talk about is the encounter, a very student-centered, child-centered approach. And basically you're giving students, you're presenting the book to them and you're asking them to tell you what do they see. One of my favorite books for doing this is Food for Thought. If you bought one picture book for your classes, I would say this is it, because it has it has art and information on shapes, colors, numbers, letters, opposites. And here's one picture from that. So I would show my students this, I'm talking about small kids, and asking, what do you see? Now, they're going to produce some for 2 and 3 year olds, maybe 4 and 5, they're going to say some of these words in their native language. They're going to say it in Japanese. That's not a problem. But the point of this kind of approach is you're having students look at it with you. You're looking at it as a group, and they are reflecting what do they see. So hopefully they're going to say orange, red. It's okay that they point to something and they don't know what it is. They're going to say some of these words in Japanese, but the point is to have a picture with many different images, and then they can tell you what they see. Another book I like to use for that, by the way, please pick up Food for Thought. It's so fun. This is a Japanese picture book, Christmas Ehon. It has a small amount of Japanese text. I don't use the text at all. But again, for the young children, I'm showing them the art. It's a pop-up book. And I'm asking them, what do they see? And hopefully they're thinking of what do they see in English, but they are going to see fork, cookie, juice. Maybe they know Santa, maybe they know star. And that's the point. Then I'm going to turn the page. Again, what do you see? Santa, tree, snow. And in the group, some kids are going to know words that others don't know. That's also great. you can repeat that word after them, and then other kids are going to repeat after you. So they're learning from each other what this vocab is. This is one of the final pictures in the book. So the kids have gotten their toys. And in my classes, we teach things like train and hat and police car, soccer ball, box. Okay. Kind of the opposite of that is the search. You're presenting material to them and you're giving them something that they need to find. This is a book on shapes. Initially, it goes through every shape, or not every shape, but quite a few shapes. And you're teaching them star, circle, and they're going to point to the different circles, triangle, and at the very last page, all of the shapes that are contained in the book are in one scene. And you can give them a shape to find, and they can repeat it, or they're going to point at it. This is a page that I have expanded on the copy machine. For every probably 4 kids in a class, I'm going to make another sheet of that and put that in the middle of that group, give them something to find, and then they're going to be pointing at it and saying it. Triangle, circle, heart, square, etc. The structure means you're giving them part of a phrase you want them to say and then to fill it in. This is a book from Gomitaro, famous Japanese picture book artist. It's an ABC book, it's in Japanese, but more importantly are the photos, the pictures. So here's a bear and a cat. In my class, we're teaching he and she, boy and girl, man and woman, and animals. So they're gonna look at the B picture, and since we've been practicing, he is something, they will say he is a man, she is a cat, she is a rabbit, I think he is a snake, he is a panda, she is a queen bee. So rather than just having typical pictures that you would get on the internet of a man and a woman, this is a fanciful way from A to Z, every character, it's as if they're wearing a costume. It's not actually a bear, it's a man in a bear suit. It's not a cat, it's a girl in a cat costume. And they can say, he is a bear, she is a cat, she is a rabbit, he is a snake, he is a panda, she is a queen bee. Okay. I like to do a call and response. And in Maisie's wonderful weather book, it's all about 6 or 7 different weathers. And we will have practiced this somewhat before we reach the book, but we are singing. How's the weather? I show the picture and they say, it's snowy. How's the weather? It's rainy. How's the weather? It's windy. And I will do that over several weeks in other ways, but one of the methods is to use this colorful picture book on weather. I give them, I do the call and they do the response. How's the weather? It's rainy. So they're all singing the second half of that. Similarly, I do a call and response with Brown Bear. Probably everyone here has used that or seen that. Brown bear, what do you see? And the reply, I see a red bird. Red bird, what do you see? And after they get to know the book, they may say the phrase before the picture arrives. I see a yellow duck. yellow duck, what do you see? I see a blue horse. That's what the students say. Blue horse, what do you see? I see a green frog, and so on through each picture. Ketchup on your cornflakes is very, very fun. Another good one for call and response. Do you like ketchup on your cornflakes? And they are responding with, yes, I do, or no, I don't. I'm changing the words a little bit. Probably every teacher is. So they don't look like cornflakes to me. It looks like cereal. So I'm going to sing, do you like ketchup? Do you like ketchup on your cereal? Yes, I do. Or no, I don't. Do you like a hat on your head? Yes, I do, probably. Do you like toothpaste on your pie? No, I don't. Do you like ice cubes in your drink? Yes, I do. So with practice, you are coaching them with yes, I do, no, I don't. And in this book, you can make various combinations. You can have a hat on your drink, a hat on your bathtub, a hat on your something, and make, I don't know how many combinations, and you're giving out the call, and they are doing the response, call and response. Do you like a duck on your head? No. Some students will say, yes, I do. The point really is that they are making the sentence, yes, I do, or no, I don't. Do you like a duck in your bath? For every element, there's kind of one ideal one, and they match colors. So do you like a duck in your bath? That's supposed to be the yes, I do. But it may just depend on their feeling, whether they like a duck in their bath or not. But the call and response. Do you like a duck in your bath? Yes, I do. No, I don't. Sometimes I'll do an activity where one side of the wall is the yes, I do, and the other side is the no, I don't. And then they're going to get up and run to that side, touch the wall, and shout out, yes, I do, while the other one is going to shout out, no, I don't. Generally, they're all, 90% going in the same direction. Some more fun ones are the ones when they're split on something. Okay, my next idea is the recall. Basically, you are doing a story, a picture book with the group, and you're wanting them at the end to tell you something about what they read. And I want to read one story with you today, and that is the recall story. My Friends, again by Taro Gomi. I learned to jump from my friend the dog. I learned to walk from my friend the cat. I learned to climb from my friend the monkey. I learned to run from my friend the horse. I learned to march from my friend the rooster. I learned to nap from my friend the crocodile. I learned to smell the flowers from my friend the butterfly. I learned to hide from my friend the rabbit. I learned to explore the earth from my friend the ant. I learned to kick from my friend the gorilla. I learned to watch the night sky from my friend the owl. I learned to sing from my friends the birds. I learned to read from my friends the books. I learned to study from my friends the teachers. I learned to play from my friends at school. And I learned to love from a friend like you. Okay, going back to the beginning. And this is where I ask some questions. My first question with this book is, how many friends do you think appeared in this book? Now, to get people's answers here. Kurt, how do I check if someone has an answer?
Did you me a question for you?
So I want to ask
Oh.
our group here, how many friends do you think appeared in the story?
Great. Yeah. You can, they can either write in the chat or they can raise their hand if they have video on and we can call on them.
Okay.
So Martin, so you can see in your chat, Martin says 15, Carmela says 13, Manami said 10.
Okay.
Brooke says
More
countless.
than, I think more than all of those. Okay, I see it now. 13, 15, 10, more than 15.
And a question for later, Wayne did ask if you're going to provide a reading list later at the end of the presentation.
What I think I'll prefer to do, I actually have for 4 years for 4 years now I've recommended one book a week. So I have hundreds to recommend. And I can talk about that a little bit at the end. So someone said, Abby said 16. Yes, there are 16 friends in this story. And usually someone's going to shoot way high and then way low. And I'm going to say more than that, less than that, more than that, less than that. And finally, we'll reach 16. We got that pretty quickly this time. Then I'm going to ask them what friends appeared in the story. Now, we don't have time to go through all that. I'll talk about that activity in another part of the presentation. To use Japanese and English for low-level students. Yeah, if in the story there was a rooster, most people don't know what rooster is in Japanese. I mean, even Japanese people, it's ondori. They just think a more simplistic word. Yeah, I use as little Japanese as is necessary, but if I can quickly bridge it to an English word, I prefer to say ondori means rooster. Now we talk about rooster. So there are 16 friends in the story. I will then ask them to try to produce what those friends were. If we want to do a higher level, and I will use this book from maybe from like 3-year-old to well into adulthood. The memory part of it is a very useful thing. So on this particular frame, I want to look at it as a recall activity. They're hearing it, and I'm asking them to recall information from that.
So David,
Yes.
there was a question from Andrew
Okay.
asking, how do you deal with katakana vocabulary? And do you think it requires reteaching?
Well, it may be a bit out of the scope of what I'm talking about here, but I want to give them correct English pronunciation. I know that they will know some words by the katakana pronunciation and not know necessarily a more correct English pronunciation. But they also may not really know the difference. If we're talking about children, and I'm really presenting for children and adults. But if a child is saying orange, they may not really hear the difference between orange and orange.
Right.
I'm going to give them a more correct English pronunciation, and depending on the age, make corrections to that.
Great. And do you want to field one more quick question?
Yes.
Which is, how often do you repeat using the same book for a class? This is from School JEC. How often do you repeat using the same book?
I think I have different answers to that. My friends, maybe a book. For example, if I have one class that I'm focusing on the friends, the nouns, then maybe the next week or the next session, I may switch to the verbs and then match the nouns and the verbs. Some books, like the first one I showed, could be used a dozen times in a year. If it's a story, what I would like to think is that when I'm bringing the same book back, that there's something new to do with it. If I'm doing the same activity, I think I would probably not do that. If I can expand or add some other new element, then I would like to use it several times.
Great. Thank you. And we'll hold on more questions until a little bit later. Thank you.
Okay, let me add a few more activities. Okay, all right, the mat and the poster. So basically, I think a mat is something that you're putting on the table. A poster is something you're putting on the wall. They have different kinds of usages. And as I showed you earlier on, I love the Hello Shapes book. And the reason this is, the color isn't very good is it's actually a photo of the double-sized pages that I made. So I've expanded that. Now I can put it on the table or on the floor and the students can crowd around it. Usually just up to 3 or 4. If I have 8 or however many, I'm going to add another mat for each group of 4. They can sit around it, and this is a lot of fun to have them look for the shape and point to it. The Very Hungry Caterpillar. I'm sure we're all familiar with that. I took the main vocabulary to that story and put it on one big A3 sized mat. One activity I'll do with that is they will have cards to match, or I may have them look for something. Where is the pickle? Where is the ice cream cone? But instead of having to read through the story every time or show them every page, now I've cut all the elements and put them into one sheet, and they can help tell the story, or they can find it, or they may I may point to something and they say what it is. But it's taking the book, choosing the elements that I want and putting them all onto one sheet. I did the same thing with My Friends, which I read to you a minute ago. I took all the 16 nouns and put them onto one sheet. So we have cat, dog, monkey, horse, etc. And there are a great number of games to do that. But I would like you to think about the picture books that you use, and is there a lot of vocabulary that you can gather and put onto one sheet, whether you're putting it as a mat on the table to play games with, or you're putting it on the wall to refer to. One more like that. Today is Monday. This is an Eric Carle book that goes through the days of the week. It's a double A4 size page. I turned it into a double A3 size page. So, if you have picture books, you're concerned about kids grabbing the pages. The benefit to making a mat or a poster is that you show them that page and then set the book aside and then bring out this laminated plastic sheet, and whatever they do with it, it can easily be replaced without spoiling the book. And there you can see that it's double the size of the book. One more, 1, 2, 3 to the Zoo. It's a 1 to 10 counting book, also from Eric Carle. And there in the book, there are 3 A4 size pages. I turned it into 3 A3 size pages. So it's really huge. I used that this morning. Taught the 1 through 10, reading through the book, and at the end, set aside the book, then put the mat in front of them. Where are the giraffes? How many are there? Where are the bears? And then everyone point, and then we count them together. So it's really an extension of the book without having to damage the book, really. And also because it's bigger, there's more you can do with it. Basically almost everything that you might make into a poster, you could also make into cards, my friends. Here we have on the right side all of the verbs, and on the left all of the nouns. So there are 16 of each, 32 total, and one activity is matching them. So as they recall, someone recalls gorilla. Okay, now I bring out the gorilla card onto the table. I'm probably going to produce all of the friends, the nouns first, and after we get the nouns, if it seems appropriate, now I'm saying, what did you learn? The gorilla taught me to kick. The horse taught me how to run. So then you're matching them and producing them as they say them. Today is Monday. I took the entire, I think those are double A4, and made it into a smaller card. So now I have the 7 days of the week in smaller cards based on the book. Brown Bear, a very, very useful book. I took each of the 9 animals and made about 30 cards of each, so that when I go to a kindergarten, I can potentially give everyone one card in an activity. And one more that you choose is a storytelling game. And there's one page that I particularly like from this volume, which is all about jobs. Not sure how many jobs, 40 jobs or so. And we can use it as a book, but I also made it into cards. I made a printout list of those jobs, obviously, for older elementary, junior high, and even adult. We can use those cards in a game to talk about jobs. So the point here is job cards that you can make from your favorite picture books. If you've made cards, then you can also use them in dice. So these are dice that you load. These are all from Brown Bear. And I did that again this morning with my kindergarten class. I give dice to 2 kids after we've already been working with the book. This is not from zero. And we all go together, 1, 2, 3. They throw the dice. I present them the dice that they rolled, and they tell me that animal. Hopefully, they're going to say with the color, green frog, red bird. But any time that you're making cards, you can, if you pay attention to the size, you can use them in these dice and have many game options for that. Okay, I have a couple more. Any question that came up?
Yeah. So we had a question, maybe this is better for the end, but Karen is asking, can we have access to your slides, and do you have a website you can share with everyone at the end of your presentation?
Yeah, what I have is 2 things. I'm doing a blog on ETJ right now, once a week blog. But for 4 years, I've been doing a blog on Facebook. It's called the Picture Book Group. My goal is to present a picture book every week, which I've done for about 4 years. So I've recommended about 200 picture books, but they run the entire gamut, some for children, some for adults, some on a particular topic, some for a particular activity. If someone had if I would be happy to address if someone said, oh, I need another picture book about the alphabet. I need a picture book about occupations. I need a picture book about the calendar. If someone had something that they were looking for, there's a good chance I could recommend something. Or if you have a book that you like, but you don't know what to do with it, probably I can give you some suggestions how you can extend the life of that book in your group.
Yeah, I've provided a link in the chat to your Facebook page. So okay, even if you don't use Facebook, you might still be able to access it if it's a public group through there and see some of the recommendations. Am I right, David?
Yes, and as I said, I started doing a blog with ETJ. So that's not on Facebook. It's linked from Facebook, but on the ETJ blogs, you can find the picture book group.
Yeah, I'll see if I could stir that up for us and post it for everybody in the chat while you talk. We did have one other question, which was from let's see here, Stephen. He's asking, what do you do with a disruptive student who does not want to listen to the story, like who's always a troublemaker in a large group, but do believe the stories will captivate most of the class's attention? So I guess the question is mostly, what do you do with troublemakers or someone who's trying to disrupt the story when you're telling it?
Yes, I think that's not particularly not especially an issue in picture book telling. Maybe it is. That certainly happens every class that I have. Yeah, one kid this morning, he was, crowding the space in front of the book, trying to get my attention. I gave him some attention. I picked him up, flipped him around, put him on my lap, and then he went back to looking at the book with me. I will sometimes take the book and, they're getting too close. I'll bring it right into their head and push it around their head. Trying to make a light of it. I don't, as much as possible, I don't want to be, too tough on kids. I want to play along with them. Picture book reading is a kind of play. I think the main rule I have is they don't touch the book unless it is a book meant for touching. That's why I make the extra sheet. Yeah, I don't have an answer that will cover every situation, but I want to make it playful. I want to make it fun. I want to make it creative. And if they're not damaging the book, if they're not being too disruptive, I'm going to basically play back with them.
Thank you. And I've also posted a link to your blog post on the ETJ website. So if anyone's interested in seeing a lot of those posts, you can go to that link in the chat. And then Idona just posted a question. Do you translate it in Japanese if needed when you're doing picture books?
I don't try to translate picture books. I may give a word here or there. As I said, like in reading the Friends book, rooster is a bit of an uncommon word, and I might tell them ondori, but I'm not trying to give a translation of the books. It's not just for telling a story. It's for picking up vocabulary. It's for making a structure. It's for interacting. I don't think it's necessary even to know everything that's in the story. They don't need to know every word, but hopefully the book that I've chosen meets the need that I have. As I showed before, sometimes it's I want them to say something. I want them to react in a way. They're going to say he is a panda. She is a cat. If they're making that phrase for the level that I've chosen that book for, that's my goal. My goal isn't very often for them to sit still and listen while I tell the story. I want to interact all along the way. So whether they're saying, green, blue, or whether they're saying, I like, or I don't like, or they say, what's this? I'm hoping for that interaction rather than more of like a story time.
Great, thank you.
Okay, I think I have just two more things to share. One is the slip over. I got this idea. Well, it's not my idea. It's Mitsumasa Ano's idea. This is a book of, I think, all vegetable. There may be some fruits. And included in the book are two plastic slips, one with a happy face and one with a sad face. And the idea is that you take out that slip and you put it on to the fruit or vegetable, and then you see an expression on that. Now, this is really for teaching feelings as I've used it. Now, I took the idea and added to it a little bit. I made a slip not only for happy and sad, but for angry and sleepy. One element would be to tell that story and to show them and have them say, happy pumpkin. Here's a happy pear. So I'm holding the book, holding the slip on top of that, and then they can see that expression. And I'm teaching them the word happy. Sad lemon. Angry tomato.
So you could pull it down slowly if you like.
Sorry, could we ask you to mute your, or not David, not the presenter, but if you're talking to someone in the background, can we ask you to mute your mic, please? I'm looking for who it is to DM you, but yeah, if you got this message, please mute your mic. Thank you.
Okay, that wasn't a question for me.
No, there was just some background information and we couldn't hear you very well.
Okay, all right. So as I said, the book comes with happy and sad. And I did this on leftover laminate, made a little rectangular shape and drew a new emotion on each end. Angry tomato, sleepy mushroom. And then as an expansion activity, I will give the kids one of the sheets and a photocopy of a fruit or vegetable or some other thing. And then I can ask them, show me happy something. And then when it gets to them, they will say, happy apple. Sleepy, who's got sleepy? Okay, make sleepy. And they will say sleepy, whatever that item is. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about, I called the extra page. Extra page means you have a picture book and you kind of wish they had one more page of something to help round out the story. One example is The Blind Man and the Elephant. In that story, it's a classic folk tale about blind people that meet an elephant, and one encounters the ear, one encounters the leg, one encounters the tail, and they all have a different experience. I decided to add to that this 450-year-old ukiyo-e representation of the same story. I keep it in the book. It's not particularly a book for children. I use it with college students, with adults. And after reading the story with them, asking them their reaction on different points, then I have one more sheet, and now here's an example of that. Buying mittens is a classic Japanese tale by Nimi Nankichi. Now there's a museum dedicated to him, and I took a picture of an exhibition there. I'll include that in the book, and when I read that, I will show them that as well. 30 Minutes Over Oregon may not be a well-known story, but it's a very interesting picture book about a Japanese pilot during World War II that bombed Oregon, literally. He later became friends with Oregon, and he was invited to this town's festival. He decided to give his family samurai sword to the town. Incredible story. And I'm reading the book and I'm like, I want to see the sword. So I searched the internet, I found the sword. This is the museum. You can see the exhibition box on the wall. This is his several hundred-year-old family's heirloom that he gave to this town in Oregon. A close-up shot of that. So sometimes there's like one more thing that you can add to a book, laminate it, pass it around. And again, I'm not necessarily talking about children, but that also works for children. In The Very Hungry Caterpillar, I felt like what I want them to know just a little bit more is the life cycle of the caterpillar. Here's the egg, here's the caterpillar, here's the chrysalis. This is how that works. Now that's told in the story, but sometimes I want a little bit more photorealism for what I'm presenting. Okay, so these are 4 examples of what I call the extra page. that's all that I want to present. And said, if you have any comments or questions, you can participate at the Picture Book group on Facebook or the Picture Book group at David Paul's Language Teaching Professionals. There are places to leave comments. Also, I'm always interested in what other people's picture books that they like to use. It's fun to hear how other people do things differently. Thank you very much. If there are more questions, then I'd like to talk about that.
Great. Yeah, we do have a few more minutes for questions, and you got a couple in the chat, David. One is from Steven, and he asked, do you borrow some of your storybooks from libraries or do you buy all of them?
Frankly, I buy almost everything. I don't have access to a good library near me. I'm in a small town. If you lived in Tokyo or Osaka or Nagoya, maybe you have greater access. But in my situation, you know, I'm going to Book Off, I'm going to Amazon. There may be a particular book that I really want to locate that's hard to find, and I may have to go beyond Book Off and Amazon. But in my situation, I don't mind having too many books. So yeah, I'm buying and exploring myself.
Great. We had another question from Dennis. So when you're talking about how long is the kindergarten class and how much of the time do you use for book time?
Today my class was 30 minutes, but I also have 50-minute classes. The book time was probably about 6 minutes. You know, there are many other things to do. I don't want to represent that a picture book dominates my class, but you know, we're doing things with balls, we're doing songs, we're doing TPR, you know, we're doing many other things, and I think, you know, 5 or 6 minutes of doing something with a picture book is a good element to be able to add.
Fantastic. Yeah. And let's see here. Martin has a question. He's asking, do you let the kids freely choose and look at some of the books like during free time?
I don't, well, the school where I work full time, we do have a library. That's different than the books that I have. And we encourage kids to take home a book. They can actually borrow it. They have their own library card at our school, so they can take books home. The picture books that I'm using more for the class are not really books that they would take home. So that's two different libraries, I would say. But I think it would be great to get kids interested in looking at books, to reading them with their parents. I think that's tremendous. In order to protect my own library, I don't lend them out to children, usually.
And we do have a couple of other comments. Wayne is wondering if we can get a copy of the activity list.
Sure. Yeah.
I get up to you how you want to share that. If you want to share the link with it or upload it as a file to the chat, you can feel free to do that. Another comment.
So this is all. Sorry, this is all recorded, isn't it? And
that's true. Right.
Recording. That may be the easiest way. But if anyone wants to contact me, it's something I like to talk about. So it's no imposition at all. Do you want to
provide your email address for people to contact you? Is that something that you're okay with? Yeah, could you write your email address in the chat for people?
Yes, why don't I do that?
Yeah. Now, while you're writing your email, Ryan did have a question. Do you read a book just once or repeat it several times? If you came in late, I think David did address that, right, David? You said you revisit the book, especially if you think that you have something new that you can bring to the table with the book. So you do.
Yes, if I think I would be, yeah, my friends, I used it with my adult class today. This is the second time I did it. There are, as you said, there are 16 nouns, but there are also 16 verbs. We're learning verbs right now. So I brought it to my adult class for the second time.
Great. Now we're getting a couple more questions, but we're getting close to our time. So I think Brooke and Samiksha have questions about wordless books and so on. David, do you want to get into a breakout room and see if anyone wants to ask you a question directly while we're on our break time? Is that something you'd be interested in doing?
Oh, that'll be fine. Yep.
Okay. So here's what I'm gonna do. If you have a question, I'm gonna create a breakout room right now. Let's see here, and we're gonna call it late room. I'm gonna add a room, and we'll call it storybooks. We'll call it storybook.